You are Locked On Nuggets POSTCAST, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up, Nuggets Nation, and welcome on into your Locked On Nuggets postcast as the boys' ugly game tonight, falling to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have been a thorn in their side, not just throughout the course of this season, but of course, dating back to last season where they knocked out the Denver Nuggets in the second round of the NBA playoffs. Minnesota now 3-0 against the Denver Nuggets so far this season. And I'm a bit surprised. I thought that after that win over the Oklahoma City Thunder on Monday night, I thought that Denver would be, ready to go, locked in, dialed in, a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth considering how badly Minnesota has beat them, going back to last year in the playoffs. And then, of course, in the two games leading up to this one tonight. But Minnesota once again came out and punched Denver in the mouth. Your final score here tonight, 115-95. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP. And if you're watching live on YouTube, appreciate y'all as always. Do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button as well. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast. But, ugly. I mean, this was a game I thought that Denver would come out in the second half with a bit more urgency. They did for a moment there. They were able to cut this lead to as many as 5, but I mean, just an awful shooting performance tonight from Denver. There's really no other way to slice it. Again, 115-95, your final score. Denver's averaging right around 120 points a game, good for top 5 in the NBA in points per game on average. And it was a far cry from that tonight as Denver doesn't even eclipse the 100-point mark. And I mean, ugly numbers here, folks. No way to beat around the bush on this one. They shot almost under 40% tonight from the field, 36 for 89. That was good for 40.4%. Minnesota was 43 for 90, good for 47.8%. But, where Denver got absolutely buried tonight was in the three-point shooting. They went 7 for 30 from three-point land. That is 23.3%, and a couple of Hunter Tyson garbage time threes actually boost that percentage up. I mean, Denver, for a majority of this game, had only made 5 3-point shots compared to 17 for Minnesota as they finished 17 of 40 from beyond the arc, good for 42.5% for the Timberwolves here tonight. But frustrating, it seems like, one step forward, one step back, one step forward, two back, 2 steps forward, one back, right? I mean, the Nuggets have been unable to just kind of string together good games against quality opponents, right? They went on that 8-game win streak, what feels like a lifetime ago now, up against upper echelon opponents this season. Denver has really struggled. And look, I was pumped up. I was psyched up after that win on Monday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. No doubt about it. That was a great win for the Denver Nuggets. But, now they've kind of fall back into their old ugly ways here tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, a team that has absolutely had their number. I mean, it was not good across the board. Obviously, everybody in the negative tonight in the box plus minus in the starting lineup tonight. Nikola Jokic was really the only player that, showed up today offensively, at least. Joker finishing with 34 points here in the game tonight. And, outside of that, Michael Porter Jr., where you at? Jamal Murray had a good third quarter, but, only finishes with 12 points in his own right. Russell Westbrook, the second leading scorer tonight for the Denver Nuggets with 19. I mean, just not enough firepower across the board from Denver here this evening. Bench unit did virtually nothing, outside of Hunter Tyson there with 5 garbage time minutes at the end of the game, making the most of his opportunities. But Denver never had a lead in this game. This game was all Minnesota from the jump, and you got to give them a tip of the cap. They have figured out, this is now a 6-game win streak for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they have the Nuggets number. That is the simplest way to put it, is they know exactly how they want to attack the Denver Nuggets. They know exactly how to beat the Denver Nuggets. And unfortunately for the Denver Nuggets, they have no opportunity or no answer, no response rather, to try to counter what the Minnesota Timberwolves are bringing to the court on a game in and game out basis when these two teams match up. And, I thought Richard Jefferson made a good point on the broadcast here this evening, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when it comes to playoffs, look, the win against Oklahoma City was great, but they're still a cut above, 10 games better than everybody else in the Western Conference. So for Denver, knowing that they've struggled against Minnesota, Golden State right now with Jimmy Butler, Memphis, some of these other teams in the Western Conference. If Denver has to face Minnesota in a 7-game series, I got to be honest with you, I'm not too confident in that. And, if Denver's going to try to get to a conference final to square off with the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think a lot of it will be by the virtue of seeding and matchups and how that all kind of shakes out here for Denver as well. So, again, don't want to hit the panic button, nothing like that. It's one game in the regular season, but it's against a quality opponent, a team that has been playing well in their own right and a team that has had their number. So a disappointing loss this evening here for the Denver Nuggets as they lose tonight 115-95. Let's get into our turning point here real quick, and we'll break that down for you here in just a moment.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
I think it's pretty obvious what the turning point in the game was tonight for the Denver Nuggets. It was their inability to shoot the ball. Not any one player in particular. I mean, everybody except for Jokic tonight really struggled. And, you saw if you were watching on national TV coming out of halftime, there was that clip of head coach Michael Malone kind of talking to his starters, this and that, talking about, it's not that they weren't getting good looks, right? They were getting good looks, just unable to make them fall. And frankly, I think another thing that you have to talk about in this loss here tonight for the Denver Nuggets is the second chance points. I mean, the second chance points just absolutely buried the Denver Nuggets. I mean, so many times they would fight on defense, get a good stop, missed shot from Minnesota, long rebound, inability to grab the rebound, whatever it might be. Minnesota just really capitalized on those second chance point opportunities here this evening. And I think that, on top of the fact that Denver was unable to, get any real rhythm and flow going on offense, it's a lethal cocktail against a team like Minnesota that's firing on all cylinders right now. Again, a 6-game win streak for them. I mean, taking a look at some of the numbers here for the Timberwolves, Julius Randle with a big game here tonight, 3 of 5 from 3, 9 of 12 from the field. He finishes with 25 points, added 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. So a real nice complete game from Julius Randle, here tonight. And Anthony Edwards, he's averaging upwards of 27 points a game. He eclipses that tonight with 29 points, 5 of 12 from deep, 10 of 22 from the field. Again, those 29 points, he had 6 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal. I mean, they were just getting cooked all night long. Rudy Gobert with 10 rebounds tonight. Jaden McDaniels with 16 points. Naz Reid off of the bench, couple of threes that he made that were big. Dante DiVincenzo only 10 points off of the bench, but really made an impact in this game, fighting for some rebounds. He finishes with 6 rebounds in his own right. So, it just looked like a game that Minnesota was more prepared for, and frankly, a game that Minnesota wanted more than the Denver Nuggets. So, again, it's frustrating. You hate to see it. It sucks, but it's the reality of the situation with this Denver Nuggets team that they're a good team, plenty of talent, best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. But, they just don't bring it on a game-in and game-out basis. And we'll see if they can flip that switch come playoff time. They got the Lakers on Friday, which we'll talk about here in a moment as well. But it is one of those situations where you wanted to see Denver really try to build some momentum coming off that win against the Minnesota or against the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Good games in that one from Jokic and Murray. MPJ did his thing as well. And, Christian Brown was doing his thing. And, it feels a little bit like back to square one with this Denver Nuggets team and a kind of gut check moment here for them, especially on national TV. Once again, no surprise there. They are on NBA TV on Friday, so we'll see if they can take care of business against the LeBron-less Lakers. But 115-95, your final score. All right, let me hit my first break, guys. When we come back, we'll continue along with the conversation, break down what went wrong with this Denver Nuggets team, talk a little Jamal Murray, talk a little Michael Porter Jr., and take a look ahead here to what is coming up for the Denver Nuggets on their schedule. Stick with me, folks. Back in just a moment. All right, you guys, real quick. Hold on, I got the wrong one up there. There we go. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at WayFair. Your home should reflect your style, and with WayFair, it's easier than ever to make that happen. Whether you're looking for a simple refresh or tackling a big home project, WayFair has everything you need in one place. WayFair's huge selection makes it easy to find the perfect piece, no matter your space or your budget. From cozy furniture and stylish decor to kitchen essentials and outdoor must-haves, WayFair has it all, and at prices that fit your budget. Finding the perfect piece is easy with WayFair. I was looking for a new rug to tie my living room together, and WayFair had so many stylish options at great prices. Plus, easy shopping and delivery. The site made it so simple to compare styles, and my order arrived fast with free delivery. Head over to wayfair.com and find something that's just your style today. That's Wayfair, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Let me also tell you about our friends over at TurboTax here, guys, because this is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes are waiting and wondering and worrying if you are going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert will find you every day. An expert will find you every deduction possible and file every form of every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in the iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. And let me also tell you about our friends over at SKIMS, guys. When I found out SKIMS was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. SKIMS has changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I tried the SKIMS boxer brief, and I am hooked. These are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and stay in place all day. Whether I'm working out or just running errands, they're the most comfortable and reliable underwear that I have ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop SKIMS Men at skims.com/lockedonnba and SKIMS stores. Let them know that we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Be sure to check out our friends over at SKIMS and let them know that Locked On Nuggets sent you. Okay, welcome on back into your Locked On Nuggets postcast. I am your host, Aniello Piro. You guys can follow me on social media at Media by AP, and it's a tough loss tonight for the fellas, blowout fashion, as they lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves here tonight, 115-95, your final score. Let's talk a little Jamal Murray here for just a moment. Only 12 points for Jamal, 4 of 15 from the field, 1 of 5 from three. I don't think he got his free. I think he had 1 point going into halftime here this evening, and then turned it on there in the third quarter. But, coming up crickets there in the fourth quarter. We've seen so many vintage Jamal Murray moments where he really turns it on in the second half, and it looked like he might be able to do that in the third quarter. He did it in the third quarter, but just no carryover there to the fourth. You saw Michael Malone kind of wave the white flag there with about, 5-ish minutes left in the game, pulling all of his starters. In comes Hunter Tyson and Trey Alexander and all those guys as well. So Malone knew this game was over, pretty early, or not early in the fourth quarter, but a lot earlier than we've seen Malone kind of concede victory here before. And we'll see what happens here coming up on the schedule. But you need Jamal Murray to be better, right? I sound like a broken record. He has been better since the start of 2025. But, this is a game that, as I mentioned, this was a game that I had my eye on to see how Denver was going to respond against a team, against an opponent that has had their number for so long now. I mean, it feels like eternity that the Minnesota Timberwolves have been beating up on the Denver Nuggets. And that also goes, the same standard goes for Michael Porter Jr. tonight. 10 points for MPJ, 9 rebounds. You like the boards, a couple of assists, but 0 of 3 from 3, 3 of 10 from the field. And stop me if you heard this before. We know that Denver's bench does not give them much production. Tonight, Hunter Tyson, in the 5 minutes he played, leading the way with the bench unit with those 8 points. I mean, they got virtually nothing whatsoever out of the bench unit here tonight. And when Jokic is doing his thing with 34 points, it's just not a winning formula. And I get that Aaron Gordon's not out there as well, but Jamal, MPJ, Christian Brown to an extent, right? We kind of know what Russ is. Russ was, the secondary scorer tonight with 19 points. But, when Russell Westbrook is your second highest scoring, player on your team, it's probably going to be in a garbage game like this. That's just not how the Denver Nuggets live and win rather, with their scoring, from role players, which Russell Westbrook is at this point in his career for this Denver Nuggets team. So, it is frustrating to say the least. We'll have to see how Denver responds here, but I would think that they respond pretty well against the Lakers on Friday. I think, they've done a good job of punching back after bad losses, and this has been one of the worst losses for the team this season, just a non-competitive game, right? I think back to the 2 Knicks games. I think back to the 2 losses against Oklahoma City, although one was close, but the opening night loss was terrible. Cleveland at home about 2 months ago, that was terrible. So there's been a couple of clunkers here for the Denver Nuggets over the course of this season, in particular at home, which is not typically the case with this Denver Nuggets team, but it is 115-95. Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards carving up the Denver Nuggets here this evening as they're unable to even get a lead in this game as Minnesota walks them from wire to wire. Looking ahead here real quick before we get out of here, upcoming schedule for Denver, only a handful of games left here, folks, and it's not going to get much easier. You got a couple of layups. You got Washington coming up on Saturday. You've got Portland next week. But outside of that, man, you got Utah one more time, San Antonio, but really every other game the rest of the way is against either playoff caliber teams or fringe playoff teams. Starting with Friday here against the Los Angeles Lakers, that'll be a 7:30 p.m. tip-off in Ball Arena. Then I mentioned the Washington Wizards on the second night of the back-to-back. Denver's 12-1 in such instances. But then, it's a couple of games in a row against Golden State and Los Angeles on the road, Portland on the road. Then you've got Houston, Chicago, Milwaukee. They play Minnesota again here on April 1st. So, there's a lot of moving parts with this Nuggets schedule here down the stretch. And while Minnesota has one of the easiest remaining schedules in the NBA, the same cannot be said for the Denver Nuggets. So, this is a big game coming up on Friday here as well in regards to second place seeding, kind of an advantage there head to head down the stretch this season. Denver now 42-24 on the season, bunched up there with the Lakers and the Grizzlies vying for that second overall seed there in the Western Conference. But I don't think there's much more to say here tonight, folks. It is a disappointing loss. It is a frustrating loss, and unfortunately par for the course for the Denver Nuggets against upper echelon opponents and quality opponents this season as the Minnesota Timberwolves take care of business. Your final score, 115-95. We shall see if Denver is able to rally and punch back coming up here on Friday. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate y'all as always. Do me a favor, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button on your way out the door. But kind of in conclusion, terrible three-point shooting, not enough from MPJ and Jamal Murray, and not enough from the bench shooting. And a Minnesota team that just knows how to play well against the Denver Nuggets. That's kind of the story of the game here tonight, folks. Really not much more to say beyond that. But all right, that is going to do it for me on tonight's Locked On Nuggets postcast. Again, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button on your way out. Really, really helps me out. That way you guys never, ever miss an episode of your Locked On Nuggets postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. Talk to you guys on Friday as the Denver Nuggets look to bounce back against the Los Angeles Lakers. Have a good one, folks.